Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. So today we're going to talk about Survival Hunters PvE guide for World of Warcraft patch 8.1.5. So let's make a new guide for Survival Hunters, a little refresh. So the first thing we're going to talk about in this guide is the stats, following up the Azerite traits, and then the talents and the rotation/gameplay. So we're going to cover these 4 topics that we will be covering now. So let's jump to the next part, well, the first part, that is going to be the stats, and let's talk about which stats that is recommended for Survival Hunters. So first of all, the stats I want to mention is the recommended stats. So the recommended stats is like all around, you can say all around what is good for Survival Hunters basically. Luckily enough, the Survival Hunters both for single target and multiple targets is the same. So that means that you can see now on the screen that agility is of course our main stat. So that means we need that on all the gear. So all your, you can say, mail armor you're getting will always have agility. You can also get trinkets that has agility or maybe haste. But I recommend taking the trinket that has agility on it, unless of course the trinket with haste has a lot of more high level, and then I would take that. But agility is like our main, you can say, stat. But for the secondary stats, haste is the most important one for both single target and multiple targets. So now you probably ask, why is it that haste is good? Well, first of all, it allows us for using more spells, you can say, faster, because your global cooldown is standard 1.5 seconds, but the more haste you have, you can actually get it down to 0.75 seconds on global cooldown. So that means every time you use a spell, you have a global cooldown that just needs to load, and you can actually make that faster with haste. Also, it reduces the cooldown of your spells. It reduces the cooldown of Kill Command, Wildfire Bomb, and Carve. So those 3 spells is also getting, you can say, a lower cooldown. And of course haste is also increasing your attack speed, so you actually deal faster damage with your auto attacker. So I mean, that's what's not to like. Also it increases your focus regeneration, so you can say fast attack speed, focus regeneration, what was the other thing I just talked about, global cooldown and cooldown reduction. So I mean, those four things you get from haste. So yeah, that's why haste is number 1 as Survival Hunter. The next one is Critical Strike, and I mean, you're doing a lot of flat damage, so Critical Strike is really great for Survival Hunters. Next up, following Versatility, that increase your it increase your damage and also healing and damage reduction to you. And the last one is Mastery. And I mean, Mastery is a fine thing, but I feel like it's Mastery is only increasing the damage of your spells and your pet's spell that cost focus. So the spells you're using for, you can say, focus spender, they are getting increased, but all the other spells you have that doesn't cost focus or attacks doesn't get anything from Mastery. So you can discuss Mastery is like, I think it's personally also, I mean, it also has a passive that heals you, so every 5 seconds you get you get a passive healing that is healing you and your pet. But yeah, so Mastery is fine, but I would 100% take a haste, Critical Strike, Versatility over that. So, but enough about stat recommendation. I would always recommend anyone who wants exactly the perfect stats for the character you're playing, I will recommend you to do a simulation of your character. You can do that on raidbots.com, for example. And I actually did a simulation on my character. And what it told me that which stat did my hunter need, which stat should I go for, and it actually showed this, exactly the same as everyone is like recommending. So normally we have some differences with the calculations and the simulations and the recommended, but in this case the simulation and the recommended is totally the same. So I think there's no doubt which stat is the best one for Survival Hunters. So this is the stats. Boom. So let's go to the next topic, that is going to be the Azerite traits. So talking about Azerite traits, we're going to start with talking about the outer ring and then the middle ring. We will not talk about the inner ring because inner ring is survival and it's mostly for tanks and PvP. So we don't care about inner ring. But let's start with outer ring. The first one I recommend for outer ring and doing well on table, on the board, on the paper, dealing most damage is Blower of Talons. So Blower of Talons. During coordinated assault, Mongoose Bite or Raptor Strike increase your agility by 145 and your speed by 62 for 6 seconds. Stacks up to 5 times. This one here is really great. You can get so much agility from this one here. I mean, you can get so much agility because you can either you're using the rotation that is called the Raptor Strike rotation, you can pretty much say, where you have your normal Raptor Strike, and every time you spam Raptor Strike you will get 145 agility. Or you have your Mongoose build, and if you're having your Mongoose build, you will be spamming a lot of Mongoose and Mongoose Bite, because remember Mongoose Bite replaces Raptor Strike, and Mongoose Bite is also built where you're going to spam Mongoose Bite a lot. So no matter what, this talent here is giving you so much agility, but keep in mind it's only when you're actually using your cooldown called Coordinated Assault. When you don't have this cooldown on, it doesn't do anything. And then of course people, they can discuss, is this worth it all, because every time this cooldown is off, we don't get this bonus. Yeah, I know, but the bonus you get from this Azerite trait while it's actually active, it's insane. Well, enough about that one. So that's number 1. Number 2, Latent Poison. Serpent Sting damage applies latent poison, stacking up to 10 times. Your Mongoose Bite or Raptor Strike consume all application of latent poison and deal 1100 nature damage per stack. So that means, for example, if you have attacked an enemy with Serpent Sting, then the damage from that Serpent Sting is actually stacking up to 10 times. That means the damage it deals, damage over time. And then when you use Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite, it consumes these stacks and deal damage. A little bit like Unholy Damage, Unholy Death Knight with the what is it called? The bloops they are putting on people. It doesn't matter. This is not about Unholy. You know what I mean. Number 3, Treacherous. And this one here is a very solid one and give you very nice damage. Treacherous increase your primary stat by 345, of course depending on how much eye level you have, while you are above 50% health, and while you're below 20% health you take 15% increased damage and you don't get this damage boost. But normally I would say in a raid you always have like over 50% health in the most of the time, so that will increase your agility by a lot. It's the same if you use twice 2.5 Blow of Talons Mongoose Bite, then you get that, but again this one is really great and just passively in the background helping you as long as you are over 50% health. So that is the best 3 that you can actually use for single target, and of course all around also. But if you want to have this Azerite trait that is the best one for pure multiple target, like if you want to be that guy who deals most damage on trash mobs in BfA dungeons, well, boom, then you're going to have Wildfire Cluster. Wildfire bombs drops a small cluster of bombs around the target, each exploding for 725 damage. So that means if you use your grenade on a target and there's like 5 mobs, of course the grenade deals damage to them all, but also drops a lot of small bombs that explodes and deal damage to them all. So this one here is crazy for multiple targets, but for single targets it's then the top 3 you see in the list right now is much better. So this was the outer ring. Now you're probably thinking, what about the middle ring? But let me tell you, the number 1 is Overwhelming Power, and I mean this one here is like number 1 on pretty much all my guides. This one here is such an overpowered middle ring trait. So your damaging abilities have a chance to give you these applications of overwhelming, and each application gives you 26 haste, and it can actually stack up. Well, it stacks up at immediately up to 25, and then it goes down. So when you have it up on 25, I have actually never counted on that. So you have 25 applications divided with 26 haste. So at the start, when this one here starts and procs, you get, if you have this eye level, of course it depends on eye level, you get 650 haste, and then of course it drops down every second, and you can pop it again and poof, get 650 haste again. It's really great, and you can say for survival hunters it's really great because haste is the #1 in secondary stats. The number 2 is Gut Ripper, and number 3 is Heed My Call. So the difference between these two spells is that Gut Ripper is actually the best one for single target, and Heed My Call is the best one for multiple targets. Of course, Gut Ripper can also be fine on multiple targets, but the problem with Gut Ripper is that it doesn't deal as much as damage as Heed My Call by passively damage. You can see they have some difference. Gut Ripper deals only 2,500, Heed My Call deals 5,000, and it also deals trash mobs damage. So you could say, well, Heed My Call sounds a lot better, but Gut Ripper has an execute phase. So when the target goes below 30% health, Gut Ripper occurs more often against the target below 30% health. This means if you are fighting a boss and he gets below 30% health, and he's still going to be alive for a long time, because in mythic raids 30% health can be still very long, then Gut Ripper is now going to be damaging a lot more frequently. That means Gut Ripper will now deal more damage than Heed My Call. So you can say Heed My Call deals more damage on trash mobs and just on mobs that has over 30% health, but as long when you're on single target boss fights and the target gets below 30% health, then Gut Ripper is dominating by a lot. Yep. So yeah, so I mean that is pretty much the inner ring, outer ring, outer ring, middle ring, Azerite traits. So the next thing we're going to talk about is actually the talents. So let's head over to the talent page and talk about that. And talking about talents, we have the Survival Hunter talents here. Let's go through them. So I will go through each row by one. So first of all, we have the first row for level 15. You can say the one that is the recommended, well, it's a bit different. The first row is actually a bit hard because you both have Viper's Venom and you also have Alpha Predator that is both really good. I would say for the on paper most damage, for the very hardcore person who plays, Alpha Predator is probably the best one, but it's really hard also to master it, because when you have kill command, you get 2 extra you have 2 charges on kill command now. So the thing is about using kill command now every time correctly and don't waste it, because if you're just wasting it and you never use it, then Viper's Venom is actually a lot better. So I would say on paper Alpha Predator is actually probably the best one, but it also requires more skills to master it. So if you don't really want to think about that one, and you don't really lose much DPS, I would recommend using Viper's Venom. It's easy to use, it deals a lot of damage, and it's great for probably most all situations. So Viper's Venom would probably be the one that I would recommend if you just want to have a cool, fine build. But if you really want to master and be the hardcore survival hunter, then I would say Alpha Predator. Also, Alpha Predator is really good together with Mongoose Bitelet, but let's come back to that one. The next one, Guerrilla Tactics, is the best one for single target and a lot of trash mobs. So if you have 1 target, it's really good. If you have +3 targets, it's really good. But if you have 2 to 3 targets, then Hydra's Bite is actually the best one, because now Serpent Sting will fire an arrow that deals damage to the target and 2 additionals. So that means if you are against 2 to 3 targets, Serpent Sting will now always dot them all up, and it's really easy for you to dot them all up. Also, it deals 10% more damage. So 2 to 3 targets, I would say Hydra's Bite is the best one. 1 target or more than 3 targets, definitely Guerrilla Tactics. So you can pretty much say that Guerrilla Tactics is like the best one for most every situations, except 2 to 3 targets. So it's up to you, but again, if you're playing against a boss where they have, let's say, it's 3 bosses you have to fight and they are standing close to each other, then Hydra's Bite is probably the easiest one to deal most damage with. But if it's single target or a lot of trash mobs, Guerrilla Tactics. The next row I will probably always recommend Natural Mending. It's helping you for healing yourself, getting lower cooldown on your self-healing, and help out your healer with doing some self-heal. For the next row again, I would always, no matter what, recommend Bloodseeker. Bloodseeker is really great on both single target and multiple targets because you can hold up the bleeding on 2 different targets. For example, you have Kill Command with Alpha Predator, you have 2 charges. This means you can use Kill Command on 2 targets and they will have a bleeding. And it should be okay, easy for you to keep it up, maybe. So Bloodseeker, I would say, no matter what, take it. On the next row again, I would have probably, I mean, this is not getting any damage increasement, so I will just take Post Haste because it's a nice and comfort talent to play with, and it can kind of help you in most situations. On the next row, all these spells here is actually potentially okay. Tip of the Spear is fine, and it's the one you play with if you're like, I don't want to change the rotation on how Survival Hunter works. I just want to play the spec as it is. Then Tip of the Spear is fine and it deals okay damage, and actually on multiple targets it's actually quite okay damage. But if you want to have, let's say, the best damage, like all around single target, probably also multiple target if you have a lot of haste, then Mongoose Bite is probably winning every fight. Mongoose Bite is a hell of a talent and it's really good. It changes rotation, it requires you to be more focused when playing, but it's really good, and it's so good together with Alpha Predator, because Alpha Predator will now give you more kill commands, equal more focus, and this means you will be able to use more Mongoose Bites. So keep in mind, Mongoose Bite, every time you use it, it increases damage of the next Mongoose Bite again for 15% for 14 seconds, and every time you use Mongoose Bite, it stacks up to 5 times. So your goal here is actually to get up a lot of Mongoose Bites, so you get this high stack and a lot of damage. Flanking Strike sometimes shines in Mythic dungeons. It has a low cooldown, it deals a lot of damage, and with the pauses you have all the time, and you can say every time you take a group of monsters in Mythic dungeons, then you use it, then you stand a little and wait for the next group, then you use it. So it's a fine spell for Mythic dungeons, but again, I would probably myself go with Mongoose Bite all the time. The last row, we have Wildfire Infusion. That is probably, like, you can say it's the default recommended talent to take. It deals good damage, it's a fine talent, everything is nice. But if you have one Azerite trait of the one called Blur of Talents, you know, the one every time you use Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite, you gain agility bonus. So every time you use, while you have Coordinated Assault active, every time you use Mongoose Bite or Raptor Strike, you gain a lot of agility. Well, if you have just one of those traits, I mean, you can have 3 of them, you can have more of them, but if you just have one in one of your gear, then Birds of Prey is actually shining in almost every situation. Attacking your pet's target with Mongoose Bite or Carve extends the duration of Coordinated Assault. So why do you think that is good? Because now you can actually get a Coordinated Assault that is having a longer durations. Equal Blur of Talents will be a lot of better Azerite traits. So if you have one Azerite trait, just one of them, with Blur of Talents, then Birds of Prey is the one you want to go with. If you don't have it, I would say go with Wildfire Infusion in all the other cases. So just a quick recap. In the top, Alpha Predator, probably the best damage, but also the hardest to play with. Viper's Venom also deals a lot of damage, but is much easier to play with. Guerrilla Tactics based on 1 target and more than 3 targets. Hydra's Bite based on 2 to 3 targets. Natural Mending, Bloodseeker always, Post Haste always. Mongoose Bite if you want to have the best damage. Also, it's going to change your rotation a lot, but it can also make it fun. Tip of the Spear if you just want to have a fine build, don't want to change the rotation at all, just want to play the game, have fun, and still deal great multiple target damage. Flanking Strike can sometimes shine a lot in Mythic dungeons, but only Mythic dungeons. And Birds of Prey if you have one trait of what was called Blur of Talents. And if you don't have any Blur of Talents, I would always go with Wildfire Infusion. So that was the talents. So that was the stats, Azerite traits, talents. And now of course the most important part is coming, the rotations. Let's switch over to the dummies and let's talk about rotation. So here we are, the dummy. So let's talk about the rotation, the opener. And for you guys, I'm actually doing something special. I'm going to show you how to play with two different specs. First of all, I'm going to show you the normals. I will say the default spec, the easy spec. If you just want to be easy, just want to play the game and just want to have fun on your survival hunter and still deal great damage, I will highly recommend this build. This is like the default easy build to play with. Nothing hard or anything, just easy. You just have 4 spells, you just 5, if you count cooldown, you just have to hold up and that's everything. So let's start with this one here. So for the opener, let's talk about the opener. For the opener, the first thing you do is, okay, so now the tank is about to attacking. I'm going to attack from here over there. In that time, you can actually cast 2 spells. So while I'm running over to that target, I'm going to use first Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb. Now I can use my Raptor Strike, Kill Command, Raptor Strike, Raptor Strike, Raptor Strike, Kill Command. And so I mean, that is, you can say that is the opener by default. If you also have your cooldown called Coordinated Assault, then the opener will look like this. So you run toward the target, Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, Coordinated Assault, now Raptor Strike, Raptor Strike, Raptor Strike, and every time you can use Kill Command to get more focus, Raptor Strike, Serpent Sting. I'm basically doing the rotation now. But I hope you understand the opener, that it's actually quite simple. If we could make my pet stand there. So again, opener, Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, Coordinated Assault, and now Raptor Strike, Kill Command, Raptor Strike, Raptor Strike. So that is pretty much the opener. And if you want to have opener on the list, it's Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, Coordinated Assault, and then Raptor Strike and Kill Command. So if you're thinking about why are you doing that as you're doing right now? Well, the thing is that, first of all, when you run toward the target, you want to use your Serpent Sting, so you actually deal damage over time. You want to use Wildfire Bomb, so you also deal damage over time, and also it deals great damage. Now, what you can say your goal is that to use as many Raptor Strikes you actually can do, and every time your Kill Command is also ready, but only use Kill Command if you actually need focus. If you already are on 100 focus, then never use Kill Command, because you only want to use Kill Command when you actually need focus, because Raptor Strike is dealing more damage than Kill Command. So you want to use Raptor Strike over Kill Command, but every time you need focus, use Kill Command. So I would probably say use Kill Command every time it's off cooldown, but only if you actually need focus. So again, on opener, Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, Raptor Strike, Kill Command. And you could also add, so after your Serpent Sting, after your Wildfire Bomb, use Coordinated Assault, and then back to your normal opener. So this is the opener as playing with this spec here. This is the opener you do, and that's pretty much it. After you have opened, so if I go again, opening up, Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, Raptor Strike, Kill Command. Now my goal is, every time my bomb is expired, use a new bomb. You can see the damage over time from the bomb. Every time my dot from Serpent Sting is about to expiring, use a new one. Now I use my bomb again. So my goal is try to keep up Serpent Sting all the time, and also my bomb all the time. The bomb is not able to hold up all the time because the bomb is having actually a quite long cooldown. So you can pretty much say just use your bomb every time you can, but never use 2 stacks at the same time, because you don't want to have, you only use it when you actually are getting, it's getting off cooldown. So, but again, maintaining, try to hold up Serpent Sting as much as possible, refreshes when that's 2-3 seconds back, and also use Wildfire Bomb every time you can, but not use 2 at the same time. After that, it's actually pretty easy. You just want to use Raptor Strike as much as you can, and every time you need focus, use Kill Command. So what I normally say is that I want to use Kill Command every time it's ready. If you're playing with Tip of the Spear, Kill Command is also increasing the damage of Raptor Strike. So that's another cool thing. So again, keep up Serpent Sting all the time, keep up your bombs all the time when you can. Use Kill Command every time you can, but only when you need focus. Never use Kill Command when you actually have more than 100 focus. Never use Kill Command then. So I think that's pretty much summing up the standard rotation. And also again, your cooldown Coordinated Assault, when you're opening up, you want to use Serpent Sting, Bomb, and then Coordinated Assault. And then your normal rotation. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, Serpent Sting, hold it up as much as possible. Wildfire Bomb, hold it up as much as possible. Kill Command, use it every time it goes off cooldown, but only use it when you actually need focus. And also it increases your damage by your Raptor Strike if you actually have this talent here. And Raptor Strike you want to use as much as possible because that is your primary damage goal. So this is pretty much the opener and the damage rotation for playing with the standard spec. The standard spec for this. I mean, the only thing I actually missed is this one here. Every time, sometime your Serpent Sting is glowing up and you want to use it because then it deals 250% more damage. But this is the damage opener and rotation on how to play with this easy build. There's not much to explain, it's very straightforward. But if you're playing with the more hardcore build that would probably also deal more damage, then you're playing with Alpha Predator and Mongoose Bite. Now it's getting a bit harder, but also a great damage. So your opener is pretty much looking the same, that you want to use Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, and Coordinated Assault, and then back to your rotation. But your rotation this time is changed. So what it will look like now, it actually Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, Coordinated Assault, and now Mongoose Bite stack. Now you want to try to stack your Mongoose Bites up to 5 stacks. You can see here that right now I'm stacking up my Mongoose Bites, now it's on 5 stacks. And now I want to try use as many possible Mongoose Bites I can, because they will deal a lot of damage. Every time you use Mongoose Bite, it increases the next Mongoose Bite by 15% damage, and it stacks up to 5 times. This means when you finished your opener, that is first Serpent Sting, Wildfire Bomb, then you can use Coordinated Assault. If you have still over 60 focus, it's very important that you need at least 60 focus, then you can begin your Mongoose Bite spam. The important part in your Mongoose Bite spam is that when you actually begin this phase here, and you begin your Mongoose Bites spam, it's changing a bit your rotation style, because let's see here. I use my opener, my bomb, Coordinated Assault, and now I want to spam my Mongoose Bite. You don't want to waste global cooldown now on Serpent Sting or Wildfire Bomb. It's very important that you only use your Mongoose Bite or Kill Command, because you want to try to use as many Mongoose stacks as possible, and also you want to try to keep up Birds of Prey, you know, your Coordinated Assault, as long as possible. So when you go into your nuke phase, your burst phase with Coordinated Assault and Mongoose Bite, then you want to focus on only using Kill Command and Mongoose Bite. Of course, in the start when you open up, you want to use Serpent Sting and the Bomb, but when you begin in your burst phase with Coordinated Assault and Mongoose Kill Command spam, then you don't want to use Serpent Sting or Bomb in that time slot. Only when Birds of Prey or your Coordinated Assault gets off again and you stop with your Mongoose farming for that moment, then you can refresh your Serpent Sting and Wildfire Bomb. But while you are in that moment right now where you're getting 5 stacks as much as possible for your Mongoose Bite together with Coordinated Assault, you only want to just spam Mongoose Bites as much as you want. And every time you cannot use Mongoose Bite because you have 0 energy, 0 focus, then you can use 2 Kill Command, or you can also use Kill Command in between. So that is pretty much why you have Kill Command and also Alpha Predator. because now you have 2 stacks of kill command that can help you getting a lot of focus quickly, so you will be able to use more mongoose bites at the moment. That's why Viper's Venom is not helping at all mongoose bite, because when you are in your 5 stack combo time right now and you just want to have 5 stacks deal a lot of damage, you don't have time for using Serpent Sting or your bomb. So that's why Viper's Venom is not helping at all here. So Alpha Predator mongoose bite is really good together. And again, if we took the rotation again, let's take the rotation one more time. So let's start the opener again. So Serpent Sting, bomb, kill command, and now the mongoose bite spam is beginning. Kill command, get some focus, mongoose bite, kill command, mongoose bite, kill command. Oh, one more. Oof. And now we still have coordinated assault on, so keep on doing this, because we can do it. Keep on doing this. Let's see how long we can have coordinated assault on. Oh. We have it still active, and now it's off. So now coordinated assault stopped, and we are allowed again to put up our bomb and Serpent Sting. But while coordinated assault is active, your only thing you want to do is using mongoose bite and kill command. That's the only thing you want to do. So, I mean, the only thing at all. But now we can say again, but. When you're using coordinated assault and it's active, and you're using this one here, Birds of Prey, then when you actually are using coordinated assault, you only want to use mongoose bite and kill command because you want to get as many stacks as possible. You just want to get as many stacks as possible on mongoose bite, and because mongoose bite is also increasing the duration of coordinated assault. So those two together is really good, because every time you use mongoose bite, your coordinated assault will be 1.5 seconds longer on. And also if you're playing with the Blur of Talents Azerite trait, you get more agility all the time. So that's why these 3 are like that's the Infinity Stones. It's really good. Those 3 together is like the major things. But what if you don't have Blur of Talents? Because if you don't have the Blur of Talents Azerite traits, then I actually recommend playing with the Wildfire Infusion. And then we actually back to using, even when you use your coordinated assault, you still have time to also refresh your bomb and your Serpent Sting actually. So now we don't have this Birds of Prey. That means our coordinated assault is actually that means actually that it's not that important now to spam as many mongoose bites, because it will not help your coordinated assault. So if you're playing with Wildfire Infusion and you're using, your gameplay will look like this. So Serpent Sting, bomb, kill command, mongoose bite. Still try to get 5 stacks of mongoose bite, but you're also allowed to refresh your Serpent Sting while you're doing this. But still, I would say still a little thing. I would still say that when you're trying to spam 5 stacks of mongoose bite, when you don't play with Birds of Prey and Blood of Talents, you are allowed to use Serpent Sting to refresh it. But the bomb is like a hard one, because if you're trying to get 5 stacks of mongoose bite and you're also using Serpent Sting and bomb, then it can be hard for you to actually getting up 5 stacks, because you're spamming other spells while you're actually supposed to spam mongoose bite. But again, you can see how fast your mongoose bite spam is actually stopping. You can see it's only for how long is it? For 14 seconds. So while you're actually using Serpent Sting and mongoose bites, now when your rotation is finished, your stacks is done, then you can use your bomb and back to your normal rotation. Refresh the Sting and back to normal rotation. So I would say, personally, only use bombs when they actually have every time your stacks, your mongoose bite stacks, when they fall off and you're about to reset your mongoose spam stacks, then I would say use your bomb. but save the bomb every time your mongoose bites falls off. And the reason for that also is because your bombs have 17-second cooldown. That means you can use one bomb every time your mongoose bite spam is finished. So just save the bomb. Of course, use it in your opener, but save it every time for the mongoose bite section is done. So you know what I mean. When you use mongoose bite, then you have 14 seconds where you're just trying to spam as many mongoose bite, kill commands, and serpent stings as possible. And then when this phase is done and you're about to reset your stacks, then you can use your bomb. And that's fine. Every time you're resetting, you can use your bomb. That's totally fine. And now you probably think, okay, this is a lot to take. Yeah, of course it's a lot of take because you can play with different specs. But now we also have to think about another thing. Wildfire and Fusion here actually have something. It has a little bonus. For example, it can be a shrapnel bomb. Shrapnel bomb pierces the target, causing mongoose bite and carve applied bleeding for 9 seconds. That stacks up to 3 times. Or kill command has 100% chance to reset against target coated with pheromones. Which one was that? That was Pyramid bomb kill command. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, kill command has 100% chance to reset against target. So when you have this bomb here called Pyramid, then every time you use kill command, it will just reset the cooldown. And kill command ASAP. Oh, I don't know what I think about. Also, you have volatile bomb. That is probably one of my favorite one. React violently with poison, causing an extra explosion against enemies suffering from your serpent sting, and refresh your serpent sting. So if you have a serpent sting active and you use the green bomb on the target like now, it has an additional explosion, and it also creates a a new serpent sting. So when you're playing with Wildfire and Fusion, you don't really have to think about a lot of stuff because you still want to do your normal rotation and just use the bomb every time your mongoose stacks fall off. But still keep in mind, if you want to master this gameplay, then keep in mind, okay, which bomb am I actually getting right now? Okay, I'm getting the shrapnel bomb. Then it's even more important for me to actually use my mongoose bite, because when you have shrapnel bomb on, then every time you use mongoose bite, it will create a bleeding over time that stacks up. How many times it stacks up? I think you can stack it up to 3 or 4 times. That's the maximum. So that's just a little detail you have to think about. But again, it's up to you. Do you want to play with the easy spec or the more advanced spec? But again, the advanced spec is dealing most damage if you master it. If you don't want to master it and think it's not fun to play with, then go back to the normal spec and just play with that and just have fun with it and deal a lot of damage. You can still be tough damage if you're playing with this, if that's fun. But of course, if you're playing against another survival hunter that has this spec and he really knows what to do, he can probably out DPS you. Of course, we also talking about gear. If you have better gear than him, then you probably still can get more damage with this spec. If he has better gear and also playing with this talent, well, you will not beat him. So again, that's up to you if you want to have the easy spec or the hard spec. Yeah, I think that's pretty much summing up the rotation. So that was Survival Hunter, and I mean, normally when I do these guides, the rotation part is actually quite easy, but for playing as a Survival Hunter, they have so many talents that is changing the rotation. I mean, Survival Hunters is very different, and it can depend on everything you do. So it's quite. I mean, I like it. It's fine. I don't play Survival Hunter personally because I feel like if you're playing with the spec that is dealing most damage, I sometimes feels like it can be too hard for me, and that's probably just because I'm a noob. I still know how to play it and be the pro Survival Hunter, but for actually just talking about it and know how to do it and then do it, that's the hard part. The hard part is actually to mastering and doing it. So when you get into a raid and you panic and you're getting low health and you have to keep in mind what your rotation is, that is to master it. But just to know what to do like I do, that's of course the important part, but then you also have to master it. But again, Survival Hunter is a really fun and cool spec. I like a melee hunter with the pet. All in all, nice spec, love it. It's fine, but it's really hard to master, I feel that. So if you're sitting out there and you enjoy this guide, well, thanks guys for watching. Really appreciate you like my guides. And soon we will be getting patch 8.2. That means new content, and I will be doing all the guides again for patch 8.2, because in 8.2 we're getting a lot of class changes. So hold on, a lot of class changes and a lot of guides are coming soon for patch 8.2, and it's going to be awesome. So thanks guys for watching, and